Did I do everything right? All right, so long division. When it's written like this, first of all, which one goes outside and which one goes inside of the long division thing? Which one of those? Top or bottom? Which one goes outside? Bottom. The bottom goes outside, a minus 3. That obviously means the top goes inside. Remember from yesterday, one of the most important things is they have to decrease in order of the powers of a or x or whatever variable you're working with. So what you need to do is start with the biggest power. And in this case, the biggest power would be a to the third, right? So I'm going to start with 2a to the third. The only other thing I have is a plus 5. But one other important thing, in addition to decreasing powers, every single power, starting with this biggest one, every one down from there, has to be accounted for. So if my biggest is a to the third, then I have to have an a to the second and an a to the first and an a to the 0. Well, how many a to the seconds do I have up there? None. So I need to put in here plus 0 a to the second. How many a to the first do I have there? None. I don't have any a to the first. I need to put in 0 a to the first. And then my a to the 0 power right there. So that I have in here a to the third, a to the second, to the first, to the 0. To the third, to the second, to the first, to the 0. Right? Every single power has to be accounted for. And if you forget that and try to work it out, everything goes all haywire. It's all kittywampus, nothing lines up. None of the like terms will be lined up in order. And then you know what you'll have? A mess. So you have to put in, not only do they have to be in order, but if any of them are missing, if you don't have, you have to put in 0 of those, right? And now we should be able to divide it. You start with the first one here, first one here. What times a would give me 2a to the third? Well, would you agree? Obviously, you're going to need a 2. And what else? I have 1a, but I need 3 of them. So I need an a squared, right? After you put it up there, what's the next step? Multiply. Just like regular old long division, when you get the value, you multiply. But don't forget, you have to multiply times both of those. So 2a squared times a, 2a to the third. What's 2a squared times negative 3? 2 times negative 3, would that be negative 6a squared? Right? That's why we had to put the 0 in here. Because what's our next step after you multiply? You have to subtract. And make sure you remember you are subtracting all. You are subtracting this whole thing. Right? Well, first one, 2a to the third, take away 2a to the third, nothing. Right? Drops out. Gone. Here's where you have to be careful. Be careful. 0a squared, take away negative. What happens when you take away negative? What's it like? When you take away a negative, it's like adding it. So really, this is like adding that. And so 0a squared take away negative, which is like adding it. Down here, aren't we going to have a positive 6a squared then? Positive? If we're taking away a negative, it's like adding it. So it'll be a positive 6a squared. And then we bring down the next thing. Bring down the 0a, and we start all over again and repeat the process. Only now you ask, what times a is 6a squared? Well, obviously it's going to have a 6. 1a, and I need 2. So I think I'm going to have to multiply by an a there, right? Right? And now what? Right, yes, multiply. 6a times a. What is 6a times a? 6a squared, yes, very good. What is 6a times negative 3? 6 times negative 3, I think that's negative 18a, isn't it? And now we're going to subtract again. Now we're going to subtract again. And make sure you remember, we're subtracting this whole thing. 6a squared, take away 6a squared. Nothing. Here we go again with this same, I'm subtracting negative. What is it like when you subtract a negative? Adding it. So it's going to be like we're adding this. And what will that be then? 18a. Positive 18a. Finally, bring down this 5. And we'll start the whole thing all over again. Right? You ask yourself, what times a will give me 18a? Right, 18. Now what? Now what? Now what, Alex? Yeah, you times it. So 18 times a, 18a. What's 18 times negative 3? Well, it's going to be a negative. Is that 54? I think. 2, 4, carry the 2. I think it's negative 54. And last, we subtract again. And don't forget, when you subtract, you're subtracting everything. So I have 18a, take away 18a. That drops out. Oh, here we go again. I'm subtracting negative 54. When you subtract negative, really, it's like adding it then, right? Oh boy, 5 and 54. 59? Did I screw up? No. That seems like an awfully large remainder, but that's what they got. So I didn't make a mistake. Now, the remainder that we get here, positive 59 over the thing we're dividing by. And so right there, that's your answer. Does that make sense? And of course, you wouldn't get credit for that answer unless you have all of this down below. Anybody with questions on anything I did up there? Couple of things to notice. Here's why you have to put the 0 in there. You know, then you multiply it and you get a squareds. The a squareds line up. The a to the third line up. See this? The a's line up. The A's line up. If you don't put those zeros in there, nothing is going to line up. Remember, you can only add numbers to numbers. You can only add A with other A. You can only add A squareds to A squareds. If you don't put those zeros in there, nothing's going to line up. It's going to be a big mess. So you need to put the zeros in there. The other thing, do you notice how right here it drops out when you subtract? This first term, it drops out when you subtract. This first term, it drops out when you subtract. The first term should always drop out when you subtract. If it doesn't, stop. That means something's wrong, so we probably got to go back and look. But don't go any farther. If this first thing didn't drop out, don't go any farther. We got to fix it, right? Anything else? Does that make sense? Make sense? Anybody with questions? Anybody with questions? Anybody? Anybody? Well, how about this then? Just why don't you keep that? It's only 3 problems. So I have page 276. 276. WE. We'll go 6 to 16. How about 6 to 16? Odd? Okay, odds and evens. I bet you were hoping for a smaller assignment. Were you? Well, okay. Since I always aim to please, how about I'll give you your choice. You can do the big assignment or you can do the little assignment. Take your pick. You can do the big one or the little one. Take your pick. Take your pick. You can do the big assignment or the little assignment. Can everybody see the little one okay? Take your pick. Take your pick. Now your pick. I aim to please, so you can choose.